Hello everyone, this is Bitnologic coming back at you again with a new video, and I think you'll find this one a little bit different than from what I've done so far, but I hope you can bear with me, and I think you'll find it a little bit interesting, I hope. Anyway, I'm really kind of, I don't know what to call it, but it's like when I'm doing this, I've had some rest, and all of that, but still, it's a weird day for me because I've had some confirmation on as to what I was thinking was going on in a certain area, and I want to mention that real quick until we get into it, because I've even eaten and everything. I feel fine in that department, as such, but from learning what I now know, what I already suspected, it has had an impact on me. So I want to talk a little bit about that before we get into the topic itself. And so some of you may know, I told some of you already that something has happened to me. They took away the joy of the gift of my mother's husband, which was a very expensive gift. It was a gift for more than $5,000 in my currency, And so the other day it was confirmed, Hang on a second, guy. I gotta pause for a second and do something here. Sorry about that, guys. I had to pause to change something because I want the lighting to be consistent, and if the TV is flickering, that won't be. So hopefully everything will work out. We'll see what happens along the way, because I don't even know how long this recording will be. But I want to get back to what I was talking about, because like I said, I've already told some of you, not only did they take away the joy, which I thought at first, and that was what I said at the time, they took away the joy of that gift, but the other day I realized it's more, because the first time I saw something with that computer, and I brushed it away thinking it was an isolated incident, but now it's just confirmed. So they've even not only taken the joy out of it by what happened, but they have even done something. So I'm on limited time with that too, if I just don't do anything about it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have it, I'm going to take care of my data on it. It's not much data on it anyway, but I'm going to take care of that, and then I'm going to turn it over to those people where it came from, and ask what they will do, because hopefully they will do it for free, or if not, I do have the money to get it done. But it pisses me off because, like I said, they've already took away the joy of the gift. Now it's even confirmed that they have messed with the gift. So kudos to you, asshole, for being so destructive, because I've done nothing to you personally, and whoever you are, you're not my friend. So, and like I said, there have been other things going on in the past few days, and I just wanted to mention this real quick, because every one of you that I know, I have no issue with per se, but I have to protect myself as well. So if there's bad things going on, I need to distance myself from that, because that's not what I want, neither for my channel nor my room, my hangout. So I'm just letting you guys know that everything is not sunshine in paradise. And you guys listening need to be aware of this too, because not everyone out there is your friend, and they will do whatever they can to tear you down, and they have done so in my case. So anyway, let's move on to the topic. The mystical experience. This is something that's been really important to me. Forgive me, guys. Something that's been really important to me in my life And I've actually been living with it my entire life. So it is a big topic to me. So what is the mystical experience? Well, the mystical experience can be just about anything. The mystical experience can go from anything from, can cover everything from being born to dying and everything in between. And I'm a living proof of that, because my story is unique in that sense, because not only have I crossed paths with this subject many times, but even at a very young age, like very, very young age. And so, forgive me, it's like I'm trying to do something, but you know how I am. I'm very mindful of little details, and I can't do it now that I started the recording. But anyway, like I said, I come across this topic in many ways, many times in my life, even at a very, very young age, even from before I was born. So let's get into it. And I'll share what is my mystical experience from the more plain ones, if you will, to the more deep and even more mystical ones. Because like I said, the mystical experience can be anything from being born, which is a miracle in and of itself, but it can be a struggle too. And in my case, I didn't have any complications like that when I was you know, neither during the pregnancy of my mother or you know, along the way or when I was being born. But there was one incident, and that was the first time I cheated death. So, because my mother fell out of a car, apparently. And so, you know, it could have gone bad. She could have had a miscarriage, and I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't be sitting in front of you recording this video. And so, even then, before I was born, and you have to forgive me because I haven't cleared my airways properly yet, so we just have to roll with it. But yeah, she apparently, from the story I've been told, fell out of a car, and I was in her belly, and when I later was born, it could clearly be seen that something had happened, because my entire head was askew. You know, it wasn't straight, it wasn't, you know, we're all asymmetrical to a certain degree, but I was like really askew. And she was told by the doctor to massage my head so that I would look somewhat normal, and she did, you know. And so that's why I look somewhat normal today, but my ears are still in different height because of this. And that's why I always find it hard to get the headset to fit me in a good way. So you know, I just wanted to show you guys by sharing that story that you can have an incident happen to you and you can be history before you even come into this world. But I wasn't, so how is that and why is that? That is part of my mystical experience, because this is not the first time, but I just mentioned I don't want to count this one as one of the official ones, really, because it was in a way it was before my time. But what it was a miracle nonetheless. So it's part of the mystical experience in a way, but I don't want to keep you know, that one as one of the major ones, because like I said, I only know what I've been told, and I can only tell you what I've been told. But yeah, I believe it, because, you know, my ears are in different height, and the first time I was big enough to decide I wanted to get my hair cut on my own, you know, because usually when you're a kid, your parents decide, oh, he needs a haircut now, and they take you to the hairdresser and you have a haircut. But the first time I decided for myself, I noticed, oh, my ears are very different, and even since then my nose has been broken by some guys, and that helped to add to that later. But yeah, if my mother hadn't done what she had done, my face would be even more askew than what it is today. Because as a kid, your face is really pliable. Your everything about you is really pliable. It can be shaped by what happens. So I just wanted to mention that before we move really into the topic. And you have to forgive me because I'm having a smoke right now because I just ate, and hopefully that will be all right, from what has been happening in the past 2 days. So but it's been good, like the past, not 24 hours, but the past half of these 24 hours or something like that. So but anyway, moving into the topic itself, the mystical experience that I have had. Because, and this goes back in a way, which I find very interesting and very strange at the same time. Because if I go even further back, then my mother being pregnant with me, there's another story that is equally interesting and maybe even more. Hang on a second, guys. Yeah, this is going back way before my time. You could say almost before her time in a way too, because this was at the time, it was in the Second World War, those times. And what many people here will tell you, who live still, who are still alive, and in that age, we're talking about the grandparent generation, for me at least, my grandparents' generation. This is to me an amazing story in my life because there are many kinds of resistance when there's war times, and my grandparents were part of that. Not the big one, not the official one, not whatever they call it. I don't remember if it was Milorg or whatever they called that one, but it wasn't the guys who blew up the nuclear facility that the Germans had started working on and was doing, because they were basically trying to create nuclear capabilities. And so I'm not saying my grandparents were part of that because it wasn't so big, it wasn't on that level, but it was on a local level. Those were the people who were wearing a paperclip on their sleeve. And I still to this day wear a paperclip on my sleeve because I know to be in that situation, I know how important it is, especially now that the world is changing completely. But anyway, I want to get back to the story, so keep bear with me and keep up. My grandparents had to flee at one point. They couldn't stay because one member of their family had actually gotten involved with a German soldier. And so their safety was no longer guaranteed. And this was even before my mother was born. So, but the thing is, when they knew that they had to get out of here, the people who led them across the mountains and into Sweden were actually my family, my ancestors, my grandparents, or the generation even behind that. So, and here's the thing, if you think about what I'm saying just now, that's quite strange, because my family saved my father's family, if you will, saved my mother's family before she was even born. So how can it be that I'm sitting here and I'm supposed to think this has no deeper meaning in my life? No, that's impossible. If you are a thinker and you think about these things, you know that something is going on. And so my ancestors, I don't know who it was, but I know them by name. They are, most of them are dead now. I don't think, I'm not sure if there's any one of them living, but all of them reached the age of 90 almost. So I know genetically I could live to be a 90-year-old person, but because I have those genes from them. But I don't know if that's the case. I don't know if that's going to be. But the point is, whether it was Anders, whether it was Nikolai, whether it was any one of those people, I don't know who it was even, or Petter himself, my great ancestor, who was what the Sami people call a Noaidi. I don't know who it was, because it was a couple of them, and then it was my grandfather and my grandmother, and there was one guy, I don't remember what his name was, but they led them across the mountains and to Sweden and to safety, even before my mother was born. And so the fact that my mother would later, if you will, I don't like this term in that sense related to this story, but that my mother would later hook up with my father is amazing in that sense, because it's so, if someone else were looking at it, it'd be like, oh, it's a coincidence, but to me it's not, because I'm here. And it means that on some level my existence must have been predetermined, predecided. I'm supposed to be here. And also the way it happened with my father later on when he passed away, I think that's part of it too. But you know, that's my side of things. I can only think, and I can believe for myself, but you, when I'm telling you this, you have to judge for yourself. What do you think is going on? But like I said, yes, my ancestors on my father's side helped the people, my ancestors on my mother's side, survive, and therefore I am here in front of you making this video. And if that is not foresight, as they call it, or providence, I think is the word, correct me if I'm wrong, then I don't know what is. And there's a meaning behind everything, and we have to try to figure it along the way, what it is and why. But like I said, the mystical experience covers a lot of things, and this is one of them for me personally. How come that this is my story? Sorry for the camera, but it's you know, it's not easy for me, because I have to do this using my phone, and I have to hold it manually. So, and sometimes not just yet, but in a little while I have to change hands. So keep that in mind, you know, because I know what will happen with YouTube. You get the message, oh, I see your video is very shaky, you want me to adjust and blah blah blah, and I'm not, no, don't do that. It is what it is. Anyway, that's the very first story that I acknowledge to be part of my mystical experience, but it's more than that, and we'll get into it as we go. Hang on a second, guys, I need to pause. Yeah, and that was the first time, but I was too young to you know, I wasn't even, I don't know what I was at the time, you know. I was an idea in God's mind, maybe. Maybe you could say it like that. But I knew that I was planned, in that sense. Not by my parents, not by my grandparents, not by the generation before them, but by some other force. I was planned. And so that's how it is for me. And like I said, this has been a big part of my life, and I don't want to linger on that, because like I said, I don't know how this I'm not sure exactly. Okay, yeah, this is in K and the other one is in M, so yeah, I don't know how that works out, but we'll see. I'm just keeping track of the space available to me, so because regardless how long this video is gonna be, it's gonna take a while to not only make it but to upload it too. So you have to be patient. Even when the video is done, it's gonna take equally long to upload it. But anyway, moving on back to the topic, that was the first story in my life in that regard, that I was coming into existence even before my mother was born, in a way. The next story goes to when I was actually about to be born, and or not about to be born, but when I was born. Because when I was born, there wasn't an easy time even in that regard, because I had major issues when I was born, not only from the accident and she having to massage me like that, but then there were other things too. I don't know if they were related or not, but I had major problems with my stomach, my intestines and everything. I don't know what they call it in English, but I had my intestines were tangled up, and I had 6 surgeries before I was 1 year old, and the doctors didn't even think I would live up to see the day. And here I am once again. This is another time, apart from the fact that she had this accident falling from a car with me, this is another time when I cheated death, because the doctors were saying flat out they didn't think I was gonna live. And here I am today making this video once again, telling you another story from my life where I shouldn't be here, but I am. Why? And so like I said, I had those 6 surgeries, and I don't even remember them, because like I said, I was so young, I wasn't even 1 year old. And but those were the main 6 surgeries, and then later on it was actually at about age 16. I'm just jumping a little bit ahead to let you know, because we're on the topic of surgeries, to let you guys know that that was an unrelated surgery in a way, but they used the same scar to go in. So at that time I knew that the stories were true, because they used the same scar to enter my body and to fix that thing, because it was basically one of my compadres who hadn't joined the other one. And so I was 16, and that's not normal, that's a thing that's supposed to fix itself, but it didn't. So at 16 I had that surgery. But anyway, back to the story. Yeah, I had 6 surgeries before I was 1 year old, and the last surgery, the 6th one. So in total I had, actually, because I had that one when I was 16, so in total it was actually 7, but I'm talking about the first 6, and the last one of the 6, they actually cut, because I also had holes in my intestines, and they cut like 15-20 centimeters from my intestine that was so full of holes it couldn't work properly. They cut it out and they stitched the other 2 together. And I've had weight issues my entire life. I had digestion issues all my life. My stomach has not been my friend in every sense, but I'm used to it. Like I always say, it's strange what you get used to. But anyway, moving on. Yeah, the thing is that that's another time I've been cheating death. They said that I wouldn't live up, and I did. Not only did I survive, I thrived. So there must be some force behind it, and that's one of the reasons I'm a believer. a believer in Christ and a believer in the Bible. And someone even asked me this question: so if you believe in the Bible, do you believe this, do you believe that? Basically petting, no, not petting, what's the word? I don't remember what the word is. I'm not English, so I'm not American either, so sometimes I have trouble with words, but basically putting one against the other, the Old Testament versus the New Testament. And if you're a believer, you're supposed to believe both, but you're supposed to follow the New Covenant. But me, I see them as equally important depending on what the matter that you're discussing is. So I would never choose between the two. I would just say what I personally think in each and every separate instance. But yeah, I think they're kind of equally important depending on the situation. But yeah, once again, I cheated death. And as we're moving on now, getting more and more into it, the next thing happened when I was maybe 3 or 4 years old. I wouldn't know for sure. Maybe I was older, maybe I was younger, who knows. But I'm just remembering certain things that happened to me in my life, and where I cheated death or almost died, or just so you're aware that what we're getting into here. We're getting into the things that I cannot explain, but I will do my best to tell you what happened. Because one of the next things that happened in my life was there was some construction work going out. We were living in a very poor neighborhood at the time. That was the first neighborhood I remembered. And if you guys know about the group ABBA, the Swedish and Norwegian, because most people see it as a Swedish group, but there was actually a Norwegian in there too. One of the ladies was a Norwegian woman, and she was actually from my place, that little place that I come from. And we lived in that house where she grew up, and she had left the place because I'm guessing she was treated the way I and my siblings were treated too. So she left, and she has not come back since. She has never recognized that place, because I get her, I do, because people are there, they're really shallow. If they find something to pick on you for, they do. And she also came from a poor background, so us people who were poor in that place, we didn't have a good time growing up there. And even me, I was bullied in school and everything, but I want to, and you have to forgive me because I need to change hands now, and I need to pause. Or rather not change hands, but, at least be done with the smoking, because it hinders me from doing everything else. So I'm glad my camera is that poor, because not poor, but not that good, so you can't see every detail, and I'm happy for that, because it is what it is, but still in some instances it's actually helpful. But anyway, yeah, I grew up in that house where the female in ABBA called Annifrid Lyngstad, that's her name, that's where she grew up, and I'm guessing since she grew up in that house even before my time, she must have been equally poor or more poor than my family was growing up in that house. But anyway, the point of the story is there was some kind of construction work going out outside in the street. I think it was like a water line that broke. It was winter time. And suddenly the weather changed, and it started raining. First it became sleet, and eventually it went into more like a rainy substance and filled up this large hole. And we had this set that you use in your house with a broom and a thing to collect dirt. And I took that outside to see this hole, which was now basically like a not very wide but really deep pool, And I was standing there leaning on the thing that you collect the dirt in. Not the broom, but the thing that you collect the dirt in. And I was standing, and they are slightly tilted in their angle And so I was leaning on it, thinking, because I was just a little kid, I'm thinking this thing can support me, and it couldn't. So I went head first into this hole. And like I said to someone recently when I just told them this story, for all I know, maybe I can say that I remember hitting the water, but after that, I don't remember much, because the water was ice cold, you know. And ironically enough, I was drowning. And this one is gonna get quite serious, guys. So if you're not prepared for something like that, you need to stop watching this video right now, because this is gonna get serious now. What happened is, I went in and I just remember, that's the only thing I can say I remember, you know, a bite, if you will, from that cold water. And then not much else, maybe a little bit of struggle at first, but then I don't know, because that water was so cold, it's affecting you immediately. You know, if you've ever been in cold water like that, you know what I'm talking about. You need to get out of that sort of water immediately, because even if you're fine, even if you're an adult, you can swim and everything, that water's just going to paralyze you, basically. So I was paralyzed immediately, you know, and I just struggled maybe a little bit. Like I said, I'm not remembering this, I'm just guessing. I might have like a vague memory of struggling a little bit, and then just, I don't know what happened, because I was gone. And so what happened is, of course, someone caught on to the fact that something had happened to me, and I was pulled out. And I was laid on the table, undressed and laid on the table, not, you know, fully undressed, but, you know, all the wet clothes off me, and put on the kitchen table. And I know that my father, my biological father, mixed some alcohol with some lemonade and poured it into me, and they started doing CPR on me. And for most people that's like, okay, but that's what happened. Yes, of course. But there's another side to this story as well, because I could see myself in that room. I was up in the room, in the air, somewhat to the corner, watching myself. I was completely blue, full of spots. You know, that's the only way I can describe it, because I had this, like, you know, if you ever had a bruise, it looks like bruises. I could see my body full of these junction points, if you will, like bruises, and my entire body was blue, and I was watching myself. And weirdly enough, I was still somehow a little bit connected to my body, so I hadn't given up completely, but because I could taste that alcohol, the Koskenkorva Vargtas mixed with the lemonade. I can still, you know, today I probably have to buy one to remember that taste, but at the time, after, I could remember that taste. I could remember, like I said, being in both existences, both being physical and also disconnected at the same time, because I was watching this going on. So from an early age, like I said, I'm guessing I was maybe 3 or 4 years old. It could have been more, you know, I could have been 5 or 6. I don't know. Who knows? I'll have to ask my mother, but there's a problem in asking my mother these things now, because she don't remember as well as she used to, you know. She's very forgetful, in fact. And so, I don't know. But I was very young. And like I said, I could remember the taste, I can remember the way I looked, I can remember them doing CPR on me, I saw the whole thing.